Commander Zixathara had witnessed the fall of 17 star systems. Her chitinous exoskeleton bore the scars of 1,000 battles, each mark a testament to the Dominion's inexorable expansion across the galaxy. The Vorthon Empire had crushed civilizations that had existed for millennia, their bioweapons turning entire worlds into graveyards within cycles. Yet here she stood, in the cramped bridge of a primitive human vessel, staring at a creature that should have been trembling in terror. The human, Captain Sarah Chen, according to the intercepted communications, sat calmly in her command chair, fingers steepled as she regarded the towering alien warrior. Around them, the bridge crew continued their duties with an unsettling composure that made Zixathara's secondary hearts flutter with unease. "Your fleet surrounds this pathetic ship," Zixathara clicked through her translator, her forearms gesturing to the view screen displaying the massive Vorthon dreadnoughts. "Your world burns below us. Your colonies have fallen. Soon your species will join the others we have harvested for the glory of the Dominion." Captain Chen nodded slowly, as if discussing the weather. "I see that." The casual response sent ripples of confusion through Zixathara's neural clusters. Every species the Dominion had encountered followed the same pattern. Initial defiance, then growing fear, finally desperate pleading before the inevitable subjugation. The humans had reached the final stage of their civilization's destruction, yet this one showed no signs of the terror that should accompany such knowledge. "Why aren't you afraid, human?" Zixathara demanded, her voice carrying the harmonic undertones that had broken the will of countless other species. Captain Chen rose from her chair, her movements fluid despite the gravity differential. When she spoke, her voice carried a quality that made Zixathara's blood run cold. Not anger, not desperation, but something far more unsettling: certainty. "Because, Commander, you've made the same mistake every predator makes when they first encounter humanity. You've confused our kindness for weakness." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of failing life support systems. Even Zixathara's escort of Vorthon shock troopers seemed to sense something shifting in the atmosphere. "We are not the strongest species in the galaxy," Chen continued, stepping closer to the alien commander. "The Drakmori could snap us in half. We're not the smartest. The ethereal collective processes information at rates we can barely comprehend. We don't live the longest, we can't manipulate matter with our minds, and we certainly don't have the most advanced technology." Zixathara's mandibles clicked impatiently. "Then what makes you think—" "But we are the only species," Chen interrupted, "that looks at an impossible situation and asks not, 'How do we survive this?' but 'How do we make sure it never happens to anyone else?'" The human captain gestured to her crew. "Lieutenant Park there. His grandparents survived your assault on New Sol. He's not afraid because he's already decided he'd rather die than let you do to another family what you did to his. Ensign Rodriguez over there lost her. Daughter to your bioweapons on Kepler 442. She's not afraid because grief burned away her fear 3 months ago." Something cold began to spread through Zixathara's thoracic cavity as the human continued. "You see, Commander, you made a critical error in your intelligence gathering. You assumed that because we're relatively new to the galactic stage, we'd react like every other species you've encountered, but you failed to understand the fundamental difference between humans and everyone else." Chen moved to the tactical station, her fingers dancing across controls that should have been unfamiliar. "Other species fight to preserve themselves, their cultures, their way of life. That's rational. That's survival instinct." The view screen flickered and Zixathara's secondary heart stopped entirely. The display showed not the expected image of human ships in retreat, but something impossible. The entire human fleet, previously scattered and apparently in full route, had somehow repositioned around the Vorthon armada. "Humans fight to preserve the idea that innocent people shouldn't suffer," Chen said softly. "And we're very, very good at fighting." The first human ship detonated in a controlled fusion cascade, its captain having rammed it into the nearest Vorthon dreadnought's shield generators. Then another, and another. "This is impossible," Zixathara whispered, her translator struggling with the harmonic patterns of her distress. "Your ships are inferior. Your weapons are primitive. Your technology is perfectly adequate," Chen finished, "when deployed by people who aren't fighting to win. We're fighting to ensure that when we're gone, you'll remember this moment every time you consider attacking another defenseless world." The human fleet was systematically sacrificing itself, but each sacrifice dealt catastrophic damage to Vorthon vessels that had been designed to withstand conventional warfare. These weren't conventional tactics. They were the actions of beings who had calculated that their deaths could prevent greater suffering. "Your entire command structure is designed around fear," Chen observed, watching as another human ship crippled a Vorthon carrier with its dying breath. "You conquer through terror, maintain order through the threat of violence. But terror only works on beings who want to keep living more than they want to keep others from dying." Zixthera's legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the deck plating. Around her, the sounds of battle continued, but now they carried a different tenor. The Vorthon forces, for the first time in their species' history, were not fighting prey that sought to escape. They were fighting predators who had already decided that victory meant mutual annihilation. "We're not afraid," Captain Chen said, kneeling beside the fallen commander, "because we stopped being afraid the moment we realized that some things are more important than our own survival. That revelation, Commander, is what we call becoming human." The last thing Zixthera saw before the bridge erupted in cleansing fire was Captain Chen's gentle smile, the expression of someone who had found peace in purpose, even as the stars themselves burned around them. In the depths of space, the survivors of the Vorthon fleet limped home with a message that would echo through the Dominion for generations. Humanity had introduced them to something far more terrifying than any weapon: the absolute certainty of beings who would choose extinction over compromise when innocent lives hung in the balance. The galaxy would remember this day not as the fall of humanity, but as the moment when the hunters became the hunted.